Jeff Peterson from Heartland Farm Partners is our marketing analyst this week. Corn and soybean crops that look to be off to a good start in Nebraska were forced down a different road this week. This comes as much of the Corn Belt is faring well for moisture, including Nebraska. The latest U.S. drought monitor from UNL shows 30% of Nebraska is in no drought classification. It's the largest percentage since June 5th, 2012. We'll learn more about the USDA's thoughts on this year's crops next week when the agency releases its June crop report. Jeff joined us Thursday afternoon to look at corn and soybean markets. As I mentioned in the open, we know that the hail damage is widespread. We don't know the severity. It's too early, as we'll hear Roger Elmore talk about later. Let's say in a situation where a farmer with a lot of hail was completely wiped out, what options would he have or she have for marketing that crop or getting out of contracts?
Yeah, and I think that's something they have to take and look at very closely, Jeff. First of all, I'd start off and think about what is your plan for the 2015 crop. If you, for instance, got hailed out of corn and you're not going to be planting any corn, before you get out of those contracts, consider potentially talking to your grain buyer and moving those forward to the 2015 year if it's possible, because you may still need that protection next year. So I'd say just be careful and evaluate your whole farm situation.
In a different scenario where you might have a little damage, but you're going to let the crop go, your yield is going to be affected, how would you advise maybe developing a marketing strategy around that?
Yeah, that's probably even a harder one, Jeff, and what we'd recommend is that you really think about how does that yield that you think you're going to get based on where the crop is at, how's that compared to your insured numbers? You might still be okay. If you think you can still produce what your insured numbers are, you may not need to change your plan. But more than likely, you may not be able to, and as a result, what I'd look at is that you may want to come in and buy some options to protect yourself on those bushels between where you're sold and ultimately where your insured numbers are. So in that situation, I'd say look very closely at how much you've got sold, how does it compare to your insured bushels and your production, and make sure not to overcommit.
Right. Let's start in corn here, talking about markets. Is it a fair assessment to say the trade has determined that the corn is in the ground, it's off to a good start, and most of the Corn Belt is in good shape for moisture?
That's what it looks like the market's definitely doing. On the way up, the market definitely was adding weather premium as we went higher. And really, if we'd go back all the way back to May 9th, that's when the market really started extracting premium out. On the new crop, we're down about 67 cents so far. And it really is a case, Jeff, of where they are continuing to take out price as they know more about the crop. Acres, there's 95% planted as of last Monday. So we've only got about 4 million acres to go.
Describe for me where the fund position is.
Yeah, right now the fund position, it peaked out back in really the first part of April. They were actually long about 1.3 billion bushels. That's a lot of corn, Jeff.
That's a lot of corn.
And what they have done is that as of today, our research would indicate they're back to about 750 million. So they've been backing out of that. Now, one item I want to add in there, though, is that in addition to the acre situation, we did have some numbers come out in regard to the crop condition. They're rating this crop currently at 76% good to excellent. Really kind of speaks to what you said in the condition of it. I know there's some parts of Nebraska that got hit hard, and I don't want to discount that. But overall, nationally, the crop's off to a great start. As a matter of fact, there's only been 2 times in the last 28 years where initial rating was higher than 76%. But let's be clear, just because we're starting off at 76%, that doesn't necessarily correlate to a huge yield at this point.
Right. Now, if the weather is good, or at least average, and the U.S. can produce a decent-sized crop, where could we see prices hang around come fall?
Yeah, and that's what everybody's sorting through, and actually probably some a little bit fearful of. If we would come in at this type of yield where we're talking right now, the 165.3, our estimation would be as we'd see December prices somewhere in the 4 to 410 level. However, if we had good weather and we ended up bringing that yield up maybe another 3 to 4 bushels, which is still definitely in the cards, it is definitely very possible for us to see a price somewhere close to 385 or 390, and that's on the future side.
What are your expectations for the June crop report, first in corn?
Yeah, we're looking at the June crop report. We don't think we're going to see much for changes at all. I think it's too early for them to go ahead and make a change in the yield. They made an adjustment last year on how they evaluate yield. They look at where the conditions are as of the middle of May, and then they put a little heavier emphasis on really what the precip is in June and July, so we don't think they're going to adjust yield. So we're really looking for the old crop and new crop on corn to be unchanged.
And your expectations for soybeans with the June crop report as well?
Yeah, that one's a little bit tougher. I mean, if we take a look at the export demand and the crush demand right now, they're running a little bit ahead of pace. But we think USDA's got their numbers really pretty close right now.
I want to ask you about the soybean market kind of as a whole. As you look at domestic demand, do we have enough supply? And wrapping in the export and import market, which will relate to how we're satisfying that demand domestically.
Yeah, this week we had one more piece of information come into that. The census numbers came in that told the imports. So far, basically crop year to date, we've imported about 28 million bushels. USDA says we need 90 million. So Jeff, if we get all the bushels in that USDA is planning, yes, we will be, and we will have enough. But that's the big question. There's still probably about 30 million bushels there that still has to be secured and be brought in. So we're still tight there yet.
What are your expectations for soybean prices come fall?
Well, when we take a look at the fall, and this is the thing I think we really got to focus on, most guys are probably out of old crop. I think when you look at the fall prices on soybeans, you know, we're looking at definitely something that could be down in the 10 to 10.50 area. And I know that's a long ways from where we are right now, but as we're reaching out there, that's definitely something that's possible.
That's 2014. Are you a seller of 2015 at any level right now?
Yeah, we are. We still believe even at these prices, the thing that as we look out across the world is going to be awash in soybeans. And I believe if we have a good crop, we're going to see much lower prices for the 2014 and 2015 crop year. So yes, we would like to be a seller of also the 15, even at these price levels.